On June 21st, it is observed as the World Music Day. It's a day of celebration. Normally, to celebrate, we use music, right? So on the day of music, it is a day of celebration. We have a special guest today with us, and he has traveled to all the countries in the world. You heard it right. He visited all the countries in the world, and he's a musician. He's none other than Dr. Benny Prasad. Thank you, Benny, to be with us in this program by Live Focus. We really appreciate your time and your willingness to be with us.
My pleasure.
How many days or months or years has taken for you to visit all the countries in the world?
Yeah. So as of now, I've been to 257 countries.
Wow.
There's no more countries left. This is both
How many
sovereign,
more?
no countries left.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
so this is sovereign and dependent countries, both together. So when I traveled from 2002 till 2010, that's when God gave me the vision, 2002, to travel to every country, to use music as a tool and preach the gospel. I used to travel about 50 countries every year.
Wow.
And for the world record, which I broke in 2010, the count started from 2004 onwards. So the world record is 245 countries, including Antarctica, in 6 years, 6 months, and 22 days.
6 years. Wow, that's impressive. What was the motivation to do this, to visit all these countries?
See, for me, my motivation was twofold. One was to spread the good news, and two is to spread the message of hope.
Okay.
And I myself was suicidal at the age of 16, and I was quite shattered with my early days of my life, with sickness, with low self-esteem, and so many other problems. Okay. So all of that factor led me towards killing myself. Now, having an encounter with Jesus gave me this beautiful life, and today, when I see what I've experienced through this relationship with Jesus, as well as the future that He has blessed me with to travel to every country, the message of hope was to share that to people, that, never give up no matter how tough life gets. And also, the salvation message was such a core thing, because I was going to kill myself without hope and without purpose. But whereas finding Jesus gave me this hope as well as a purpose to live.
So when you started this journey, visiting countries how old were you?
I was 27 when I started to travel to perform.
And within 8 or 6 years, you finished all the countries.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So this happened in which year, the first journey?
The first journey was, as a concert musician, was in 2002.
So what is the reason? Why did you take up music?
See, I never thought I could be a musician, and my mom worked for FIBA Radio, and my brother and 3 sisters, they always got the opportunity to sing, and I was the only non-musical person in the family. And I wanted to play a musical instrument, but I didn't have the talent. And I remember going for music classes, and on the first day, the guitar teacher told me not to come back again, because he said, you have no qualities of music. So I picked up the guitar only at the age of 19.
Wow.
Now,
that's quite late to start a career.
Quite late. I was in the Bible college doing my theological studies at Acts Institute. My principal, Reverend Ricky Nyanakan, he was a fantastic guitarist. So watching him play really got me into this journey of why not picking up a guitar. And I believe that it's a divine call, it's a divine aspect that God put in my life to pick up the guitar. And also for me, guitar was a portable instrument, so I could carry it and perform anywhere. And that was the start of my musical journey.
Now, I want to confirm this. You mean to say that there wasn't a musician when you picked up guitar?
No.
In your home?
Not at all.
You are the first one to do that?
No. I mean is, all of them were musicians. I was the only one who was not a musician.
Wow.
Yeah. I was the only non-musical person in the family.
So by the family, it was established that music is not for Benny,
correct.
right?
Exactly, yeah.
What an irony. Now the entire family is known that, the sibling of Benny Prasad. Wow, that's amazing. Now, in your journey, of course, you play guitar, and most of us have seen it. other than playing guitar, what are you telling the people?
See,
Are you
for
saying
me,
that, you
yeah.
should not commit suicide because you had that tendency? What is the message that you're
See,
giving?
for me, my message has been one is the story of hope,
Okay.
because I grew up without hope. I grew up without purpose. I grew up without the drive to live. So for me, that has been an integral part of my message. Wherever I go and I perform, my journey of from being hopeless to being so hopeful has been an integral part of whatever I speak. Secondly, is my relationship with Jesus. Even though I was born in a Christian family, for me it was more a traditional approach of knowing God because your parents told you to do it. But it was at 16 when I had my own share of conviction in understanding who Jesus is, where at the lowest point I heard the audible voice of Jesus Christ at a youth camp, and that was the turning point in my life. So
Okay.
that message is integral part of my message when I share to people that there is a God and his name is Jesus and he loves you. He died on the cross and he's willing to have a relationship with you and also forgive sins, forgive my sins, our sins, and give us eternal life. So that has been also part of what I share. And the
So
last
you mean to
one,
say that that's the aha moment
yes, for me it
in
is.
your life?
Because had I not had an encounter with Jesus, everything would have been gone. In fact, I would be dead and gone because I already planned how to kill myself. So that is something that I will never want to part. And I would always share that no matter what platform I perform, whether it's the King or Prime Minister or Olympic Games or FIFA World Cup or wherever it is, that story is very much part because I've experienced the change and I want to share that experience with others. And the last one would be challenging people to follow passion more than the pressures of the society.
Okay.
The society tells you to do this and this and this and this. And so many people are living a life without passion. Whereas here, I'm able to live my life passionately, strive towards the call that God has called, and I've really enjoyed my life to the fullest.
Now, the day when you had an encounter with Jesus that you mentioned, it took another 3 years, I think, for you to pursue music.
Yes.
What was your motivation during that time? Because you said that you wanted to kill yourself, didn't have any motivation. So can you recollect what was happening
Yeah.
during those 3 years?
See, at 16 is when I had an encounter with Jesus Christ and I accepted Jesus as my personal savior. Then I took baptism. And at 17, I joined the Bible college.
Okay.
Now, I'm a high school dropout, so I've not finished my 10th standard. 11th and 12th, I was pushed into another school, even I could not finish that. So, educationally, I was considered as a failure. And again, my failure in education was not because I was a bad student, but because I was an inquisitive student. I had a lot of questions. And when my questions were not answered, I lost my interest in studies. So, now 17, I joined the Bible college at Acts Institute. And my goal was to study theology, and I was passionate about theology and studied to be topper in the college. And I thought I was going to become the youngest PhD in theology. That was my drive, that was my goal, that was something that I was looking at. And music was never part of that. And it's just that at 19, there was something that led me towards this instrument, the guitar, apart from watching my principal play the guitar.
Okay.
And so I prayed and I said, Jesus, I really want to become a musician, but will it be possible? Because I don't have the talents and neither do I have the instrument. So I picked up an old broken guitar. When musicians broke their strings, I collected the broken strings, tied them together and put them on the guitar. And I practiced 7 hours every day, apart from my studies.
Do you still have that guitar?
No.
I think you should have kept
I
that.
wish. No, it's
Little
not
do
my
we know,
guitar.
it
No,
wasn't
no.
your guitar.
It was not my guitar. It was the college's guitar. It was a warped reject guitar. And so I practiced and I put my effort into it. I prayed to Jesus that he will be my music teacher. And with a sheet of chords from scripture and song, I practiced every day. And now when I see And what God has done, He used those days to shape my future as a musician. And later on, I quit the aspect of pursuing my PhD in theology, but rather God called me to using music as a tool to share the gospel to the ends of the earth.
I don't know who can plan a career like this.
No, no one. In fact, till today, people still ask me, how could you plan your future? How could you plan all these things? And all I can say is that it is only God who could carve these things out from my
A
life.
typical Indian parent would ask, which course my son should study so that he can visit all the countries of the world. Have you ever dreamt that you will be visiting so many countries?
No. I only dreamt of sitting in the aeroplane.
Oh, you stayed close to the
Very
airport.
close to the airport. My dad worked as a scientist with NAL. So I always dreamt that I hope one day before I die, I could sit in an aeroplane and take off.
That was your big dream.
That was my biggest dream. Yeah, it was. And it was an impossible dream because you're a high school dropout. You have no talents, you have no gifts, you have no education. Sitting in a plane is way beyond your imagination. But that was my dream.
But see, you hardly landed.
Yeah, oh my. I've sat through planes and so much. I'll never forget when I was doing a Caribbean tour of concerts. I did 31 days, I took 34 flights and went to 22 countries. And you know, these are scenic planes. The windows are huge.
Okay.
You can see through everything. You know, the window seats. And these are 1 hour flights or 45-minute flights and beautiful sea. And I'm sleeping in these planes. And the air hostess used to come and wake me up and say, "Sir, this is a scenic plane. You're supposed to see through the window." And I said, "But every day I'm taking a flight, you know, and I'm just used to this. I'm just resting now." And so later on, you know, flying was just part of like going to the fish market to buy some fish, you know.
Can you tell some interesting events that took place during your journey?
Yeah.
Maybe a couple of them.
Yes, quite a number of them. In fact, recently I wrote a book called Unthinkable.
Okay.
And that the book contains about 32 stories from 32 different countries. And so I have lots of stories about everything from integrity to pursuing your passion to fulfilling what God has called you to do. Yeah, I have many incidences in my travels, and one such was when I went to Antarctica. And it's a very unlikely place
Yeah, who
for
wants to
anyone
go
to
there?
go there. And it's too far, too expensive, and it's extremely cold. And when I did take my last leg to Antarctica, that was from the southern tip of Chile, a place called Punta Arenas, to King George Island. You know, people who are sitting in the plane, this private jet is all world travelers, wealthy people, and each one is talking about their thing. And so they asked me, "What do you do?" And I said, "I'm a missionary and a musician." And they all laughed, including the pilot, because it's a small plane. It's an 8-seater plane. And so the pilot looks back and he says, "Oh, this is not a place for people like you." And so they all laughed, but I just kept quiet. But, you know, it was extremely cold. So I prayed. I really prayed to God for pleasant weather. And when we landed, you know, the weather was so good because Antarctica is one of the windiest places on this earth. And it was so calm that the guide, he told us that he can't believe when it was so calm. And it was so beautiful, even though it was extremely cold. So I performed for the research scientists, the geologists, and those kind of people, shared my testimony, visited some of the bases there. And normally they say about 3 hours or so is what you get to be in Antarctica. And by then it'll start to snow, and then you have to come back. But this time we stayed there for 6 hours, and then once it started to snow, we had to run to the plane and take off. And that's when the guide told us that I can't remember when was the last time we had 6 hours, a team coming and staying there. So I could see that prayer really worked in such an amazing way in Antarctica, that God fulfilled a request like that, you know. Or on the other side, when for the Olympics in Greece, when I got the invitation to perform for the cultural stages. But they clearly told me that it's going to be a performance, so we just want your music and not your testimony.
Okay.
And for me, my testimony is integral part of my music. I tell people my music on its own is meaningless without my testimony. So when a situation like that came, I prayed and I asked Jesus to give me an idea to design a guitar the world has never seen, so that this guitar will attract people, the athletes, to come and talk to me, and in turn I can share my testimony. And that's how I ended up designing the world's first guitar with drums inside. Or another story would be in North Korea, when I prayed and I asked Jesus for an opportunity for me to officially go to North Korea, because you can't just go into the country just like that. So I prayed for an official invitation where I could perform in front of the North Koreans a song of worship. And God did open the door in 2012 when I was invited by the government of North Korea for the 100th birth anniversary of their founder, Kim Il-sung.
Okay.
And I got to play 2 worship songs on the official platforms every day in North Korea. So stories like this go on and on.
In North Korea,
Yes.
a traveler gave a test tract and he was in prison. That's the kind
Yes,
of country.
you can easily get into deep trouble. And I got to share my testimony with the other artists. I used my translator to share my testimony with few other North Koreans, whomever I could get to meet. But for me, my passion is that I want to share this good news, what Jesus has done in my life, to others. And like this, there are many stories. Recently I wrote my first book called Unthinkable.
Okay.
And I have 32 stories from 32 countries. And all these stories are just amazing. For example, how God helped me to get my visa to Pakistan, which is again almost impossible for an Indian.
Yeah.
So, and all of that sums up in that book. But I give the credit back to Jesus for this gift of life and the journey that he has blessed me with.
You already mentioned about the reason why you developed this musical instrument, the guitar with drums. Now, how did you get this idea? Can you...
Well, it was very simple, and I prayed. I was in Los Angeles at the time when I got the invitation, and I prayed and I said, God, please help me to do something new. And I went to the shop at the time, and I saw these 2 small mini bongos by a company called LP. So I just bought it and then went home, prayed, and I drew a picture of the guitar and put 2 circles and called it as drums. And then I went to Tulsi Guitars in Chennai, and I gave them the idea of how I want the guitar, and then they made it for me. So that's how it came.
So you are the first one to have it?
Yes.
And you are the first one to have a performance with that, right?
Yes.
Okay, so it belongs to you. So I hope you can demonstrate the way you play, maybe a little later.
No, I don't play the guitar anymore.
Why? What happened?
I've taken a break from my musical journey for almost 5 years now.
Why? What is
Because most of my time has gone into mentoring people, teaching and preaching, and especially here at Chai 316, we spend a lot of time in counseling. So a lot of the time has gone into all these activities that music has taken a back seat for me.
Oh, I see.
Because otherwise you need a lot of time to practice these pieces, and I don't have that time.
So then can you tell us about this Chai 316?
Yeah.
What does it actually do? What is your intention behind this?
See, when I finished breaking the world record in 2010, when I became the fastest to travel to every country in the shortest time, then I continued to travel another year in 2011. But then I prayed and I asked God, you have done such amazing things in my life. What is your next step?
There's no question of going to moon, right?
No, correct. There's no countries. There's no countries. And so what do you want me to do? And that's when God gave me the vision to build a center like this, Chai 316, to help young college students who are suicidal, depressed, and lonely. And the goal of this cafe is 80% listening and 20% talking. And we have seen amazing stories. We have rescued so many young people from the clutches of death. And there are so many people like me who want to kill themselves because of different circumstances and situations. And here we are able to give them hope and encourage them with a purpose why God created them. And that's what we do here is we mainly counsel people here,
Okay.
and we equip others to also counsel people over here.
You said that you hear 80%
Yes.
and talk less.
Yes.
Now, why did you take that decision? The reason why I'm asking this is you have gone through suicidal tendency,
Yes.
and you had the same kind of feeling that there's no one listening to
Yes. Very true.
you. Okay. So, how did you overcome that then?
Yeah, for me, when I grew up, it was all about you should do this, you should do that, you should do this. But it was
They were talking to you.
Exactly. There was very few or hardly anyone who were willing to listen to my side of the story. So here we wanted to first listen to people.
So
And,
again, I'm going back to that
yeah.
situation. So you mean to say that during your school days, no one has really wanted to know why you are not studying?
No.
See, as an outsider, I know your father was
Yeah.
a scientist. I worked with your mother.
Yes.
She was an intelligent woman.
Yes.
That you will have a certain amount of intelligence and capacity to study.
Yes.
That's obvious. So if you didn't study, there must be something. You mean to say that no one bothered
No.
to?
Nobody bothered. See, mental health was not even a topic those days. Now we see that there's a lot more progress in the world of education, but those days it was all about comparison. It's all about
Yeah, you have to be
yes,
better than your
exactly,
neighbor.
yeah.
You know.
It's all about academic excellence. It's all about your jobs dependent on your educational marks and all those things. So life was really tough those days, and people were more interested in giving you advices about how you can excel in your studies, not about really listening to what you're going through in life.
So if I say that Chai 16 is a place where you will be heard,
Yes, exactly.
That's
First
a
thing we do
statement.
is, first thing we do is we listen to people. We listen till they finish talking.
okay. So your life motivated you
Yeah.
to start something. Of course, you wanted to share the
Yes.
good news. That's really interesting. So how do you mix tea and music? Because I see a lot of musical instruments, speakers, stage, PA system. So
Yeah.
music also happens here, right?
Yes, yes, very much.
So how do you mix that?
So we have live conversations and we have live music.
Okay.
So talented musicians come and perform on the stage.
And you invite them, or
Yes, we invite them.
invite them.
Yes, we also serve tea at the same time.
Okay.
And people have an experience of both live music, performing it on the stage, as well as listening to it. And we end up connecting with each other and sharing.
So what kind of people who come here?
Oh, majority of them are college students because that's our focus group.
Okay.
So they're between 18 to 25. So they are, I would say, 99% is the college crowd.
Okay, that's nice. Now, why you are a musician, you have a lot of opportunities, but why you confine yourself to share about Jesus? Even your musical performance are focused on that. Why did you take a decision like that?
Yeah. See, for me, I've tasted and seen who Jesus is in my life. And it's not something that's vague. It's not something that's outdated.
Okay.
It's been a core, integral part of my journey of success, my journey of purpose, and my life itself, actually. So, from having nothing, having been completely the scum of my family, to
What a
now,
word.
to becoming the to becoming a useful person, where I could represent India, I could be known all over the world for certain things that I've done in my life. But all of that I attributed back to my relationship with Jesus Christ, whether it is creativity with music or whether it is to do with passion. whether it's to do with being consistent, because music, again, if you're not consistent, it's going to be very difficult. And you have to press on, because your starting is not easy, because many times people think that music is only a side dish, it's just a hobby. But I took it up seriously as part of my entire journey. But all of this I attributed back to Jesus Christ and my relationship with Him. And so wherever I go, I always make sure that this part of the story is presented through my music as well as my performances, is because I've tasted and seen this, and it works, and it's been amazing. And I will never trade this to anything else in this world. And so I want that to be part of my journey. That's why I share it.
There could be people accusing you that you are you're a propagator of the Christian religion. You're pushing a religion through your music. What is your response to that?
I would say that so far, I've hardly had anyone come and say that to me.
Oh.
Yeah, and half of my performances are outside the church. It is in all places. I speak at TEDx, I speak at universities, speak for graduation ceremonies, speak at five-star hotels, corporate managements, all kinds of parliaments. But everything that I've shared is only from a personal experience.
Which others can't deny.
Yes. Which is never biased to the point of I'm trying to propagate something. Okay. I'm just sharing the gift of life that I have. I'm sharing what I've experienced. It's up to people how they take it. It's up to people how they're going to translate that message into things. But many times people would come and ask me, do you really say that God spoke to you? How did He speak to you? What language did He speak to you? They're very inquisitive.
And skeptic,
to find
some
out.
of them. Yeah.
Skeptical, quite a number of them are skeptical, but at the same time, when they see the proof, like, how could you travel like this? When they see my passports of 15 books, they are like, how could you do this? How did you achieve this? Whether it is Hollywood or Bollywood or anywhere I go, they always look at these things. And that pushes them to say that, well, there is an element of truth in what you're saying. So I've never seen anyone come and accuse me of propagating something, but rather they would come and appreciate my faith, my journey. And some of them would want to know more about how I ended up with my walk with Jesus. And that's the joy of sharing this gift to others.
Okay. Now, there are people who face a lot of disappointments in life. I'm sure you can identify with many of them, especially in our country. If you are not good in studies, you are finished. You are written off. You are a trash. To such people, what is that you can't tell?
Yeah.
What is your message for them?
I would say that first of all, identify why are you considered as useless. See, if it is just a sheet of marks card, for me it is meaningless. Because there's so many people who have finished their engineering doing nothing. There's so many people who have finished doing their post-graduation and their job has nothing to do with their education. People who have done their masters in chemistry sitting in some HR in a bank company. What is this? This is the shame for education. That you study one thing and you're doing something else, which means that without this you could have even finished these things. So I would challenge people. What is it that makes you feel hopeless? I would tell boldly now that after 9 years of serving here at Chai 316, one of the top reasons why there is so much of depression among young people is because of the fact that they're sitting in the wrong classroom. Their passion is one thing, and what they're studying is something else.
The sad part is, they are wasting the best time of their life in the wrong place.
Exactly. And also, by you occupying that seat without passion, somebody has missed out.
Yes.
Somebody has missed out that opportunity. I'll give an example. There was a group of young boys who came, and I was talking to them. And my favorite question is, what is your passion? Leave the money part, leave the education part. If you had a choice, what would you like to choose? So this boy said, I really love writing and I love to write and I would love journalism and this. I said, oh, that's good. So then I asked him, what are you studying? This guy said, I'm studying BCom. I said, you should have picked a BA English Literature. That would have helped you in your writing skills. He said, yes, I had applied, but then, there were no seats left. So the only seat that was left was BCom. So I joined. I said, but aren't you wasting your time? He says, I said, you could have spent a year doing something else, and following year you could have applied for BA English Literature. He said, but am I not wasting my time? And I said, see, now you're sitting in BCom, you have no passion with BCom, and you will finish your 3-year degree. But just because you're occupied, you think you're not wasting your time. Whereas sitting for a year, doing something valuable, and coming back and doing your BA English Literature, which is going to help you with your writing skills, and you think that that is a waste of time. And then suddenly he said, wow, you're right. We think that just because we are occupied, we are not wasting time. No, it is like you are going in the wrong direction, but you are busy driving. So you think that you are driving, but you are wasting your time by going into the wrong direction or studying for the wrong question.
Yes.
So in our culture, we think that if we are occupied, we are useful. No, that's why we see a lot of people with degrees, but they don't have communicational skills. They don't have efficiency skills. Most of them don't have skills because they've studied for the sake of a degree. They have not studied for the sake of passion. And I tell the world, boldly I say this, that education is useful as long as it equips your call. Otherwise, it's just a piece of paper. It's just thrown out.
Very true. I wish not only the students, even the parents should
Yes,
listen to this
they
message.
must hear this actually. Yes.
There are pressure from their side
Because
as well.
today, you see, I've been invited to speak for graduations in secular institutions. But I'm a high school dropout. How can you use a dropout to be a role model, right?
Yes.
But see, for me, my faith in Jesus as well as pursuing my passion has helped me to become a man of purpose.
Thank you so much, Benny, for speaking to us. If there is a story that can substantiate the saying, from trash to treasure, that's the life of Dr. Benny Prasad. Thank you so much, Benny, for spending your time
My pleasure.
and sharing these valuable thoughts with us.
Yes.